100. I create my box, which is my Q1, median, and Q3, and then I draw my whiskers. And there is your box and whisker plot. It shows the distribution of your data, and really a box and whisker plot is just a number line with the pieces of information blocked out for you. I think it's easiest to do it with the number lines, then it can kind of show you. You don't want, you want your box to be proportional based on the data points that you have. Okay. Do we have a outlier with this information? That's going to be kind of our next step. So box plot involves the median, range, first and third quartiles. We already talked about that. This goes more in detail about what we're doing, what it looks like. Oh, are we not doing? Okay, so this doesn't have the outliers on here. So I'm going to go ahead and skip those for now, and I'll post a second video that shows just how to find outliers. Actually, we can do it right now. Okay, so there's a couple of steps in order to find these outliers. So if you're asked to determine whether or not there's an outlier, the first thing you need to find is your IQR. This is called your interquartile range. And that's where you subtract your Q3 minus your Q1. So Q3 was 88, Q1 was 72. So 16, 78 minus 16, okay? Then to find my, what I do is I take this 16 and I multiply it by 1.5. So 1.5 times 16, which is my IQR, equals, calculator, I get 24. And then what I do is I take my Q1, I subtract 24, and I take my Q3, and I add 24. So Q1 was 72 minus 24 is 48. Q3 is 88 plus 24, and I get 112. Okay, so now I go back to my data points, and my lowest number was 44. So that does not work here. So I do have an outlier. So my outlier is 44. And up here with 112, my max value is 100. So I don't have an outlier here. So when I have an outlier, I'm basically saying that this number could skew my data. And then you have to determine as a statistician whether or not it's going to affect the overall results. And sometimes people will just throw them out of the overall data, but then guess what? If you throw the 44 out, everything up here is going to change slightly. So I would just identify that you do have an outlier, and then you're going to determine that, hey, that could skew my data, but I'm going to leave it in there because there's only one. It's not too far off. If it was like 12, I would say maybe, you should probably not use that score. But for the purposes of my class, I would just leave it in there and just determine that, yes, I have an outlier and this is why. Okay, we did go over this already. Here's another example. This is a stem and leaf plot, and it wants you to make a box plot based on this information. So if I were to do that, I have 15, 18, 20, 27. Remember, each of these determines a number. So 15, 18, etc. So I'm going to use my highlighter method to find my median. Start with some yellow here. So I have 15. Oh, maybe not. Highlighter, yellow. Okay. So 1, 2, 1, 2. Now again, you could put these in your calculator. I just am not today. 1, 2. So it looks like my median is in between 36 and 37, which would be 36.5. So median is in between 6 and 7. And then I need to find my Q1 and Q2. So if this is my median, okay, 1, 2. So my Q1 is in between 28 and 29. So 28.5. And my Q3, last but not least, 1, 2, is between 47 and 49, which would be 48. Okay, and I know this is getting to be a long video. I promise I'm almost done. So I start with my number line, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. I start, my first number is 15. My Q1 is 28.5, so 10, 28.5. My median is at 36.5. My Q3 is at 48. There's my box. Make sure you label everything. Makes teachers happy when you label. And then my maximum is 66. So 50, 66. And then from here you could determine whether or not you have an outlier. Okay, so there's your box and whisker plot. I'm showing all my data. 15, 66, and you can fill in the rest of your numbers. And that's it for box and whiskers. Here it is again. Hopefully those matched up with all of our data points. Good. It's always good to check your work. And you have a worksheet for homework tonight. So let me know if you have any questions. Have a good day.